Hey everybody, this is Hogan Brown from Loon Outdoors. I'm going to show you how to tie up a pretty new pattern to me and one that I had to develop this summer to solve some problems. That's where great flies come from, right? Problem solving. So we had low water this year. If you didn't know anything about California, in 2022 we were in a drought. So we've had low clear water all summer in our rivers, and I spent a lot of time chasing stripers and bass in those waters. And low clear water, our fish have a long time to look at your flies, and they don't necessarily jump on the brightest, flashiest bait fish patterns. So a couple things that I've always known were important in a bait fish pattern. One thing I learned from a bunch of guys that I fish and tie with, Chuck Reagan, and the good groups at the Cal Bass Union, the good guys there, Ryan Williams, Maury Hatch, a lot of guys that tie striper flies, is this lateral line. Okay, a lateral line in bait fish is incredibly important for our stripers and largemouth. So I kind of stripped back my bait fish pattern to just olive over white in a really hard black lateral line and a very trim, thin pattern, and came up with Hogan's hardline bait fish. So let's get started. First key to this fly is going to be the hook. This is a Gamakatsu SC17 3/0, and as it says, tarpon hook. Okay. One thing that all these fish have in common, and most people would not think that a striped bass, a largemouth bass, and a tarpon have much in common, is that when hooked, they shake their heads violently. And one thing that keeps that hook in, or that I guess in my experience I've found with large stripers and large bass, is that a shorter shank hook is going to stay in or stay pinned in that mouth a little better. I think the shorter shank gives them a little less purchase to try to throw or cantilever, kick that fly out. So it's one thing in my striper flies that I've adapted is using these shorter shank SC17s, SC15 heavies, a lot of these shorter shank hooks on unweighted flies. Okay, so we start just basic 6/0 white thread, nothing fancy. Okay, if you watched me tie before, you know with a lot of my bait fish, striper, and bass flies, I like to use white thread because it takes pigment, marker, you can really color it to however you see fit. Okay, next I'm going to take some black Flashabou. This is my color. I use this in a lot of flies. It's 6997. It's got a little rainbow in it, kind of reminds me of like an oil slick. Cut off a clump, enough for a flash tail. And this is not going to be a big fly. Okay. I'll extend it out a little bit, you know, longer than better, but you want to leave yourself enough because we're going to make wrap the fly. So I'll leave that there. Next thing, I'm going to take some strung fuzzy fiber. Okay, this is 90034, just kind of a great synthetic. And you can use a lot of stuff. I like this because it's stiffer than a lot of like SLF. It's not going to mangle up the first fish that eats it. Just set it right on top. Tie it in. Now I'm not going all the way up to the eye. Okay, with both of these, I'm going pretty close, but not right up. Okay, take this because we're going to use that again. We're going to use that for the rest of the fly. Out, wrap it in there. I'm going to take this, take white. Same thing, slinky fiber and white. A little bit. Measure it out, turn that fly over, tie it right to the bottom. If you need to, pull it up, kind of center it. Go right to the same place. And again, this material is very trimmable, meaning you can trim this and cut it and it's going to look just fine. Back over, pull it out, kind of look at it, pull it to length. And then really ratchet down on it. Now, next thing I'm going to do, I'm going to move that thread forward. I'm going to take this remaining Flashabou and wrap it around the hook shank. There. Take some thin UV clear. Take a dab across. Let it kind of flow. Hit it with my light. Go to the other side. Let it kind of flow around. I can turn this one a little. Hit it with the light. Then I always kind of feel if there's any rough spots, if I feel any spots I missed, and I didn't. So next we're going to build the rest of this. Again, that's going to be that hard line, how this fly gets its name. Take that remainder, set it right on top. Create a nice little taper with a couple different, and we'll use some tapering scissors, some curved scissors to shape it. And take the rest of that white and do the same thing on the bottom. And at that point, I tie it off. And trim it. All right, to dress this fly, the first thing I'm going to do is I'm going to put a little thin UV clear on it. Take my 6mm eye, drop it right in the puddle that I made. Make sure I get it where I want it, and then hit it. Now, this is not going to be the final set on this eye, but what it's going to do, it's going to allow me turn it over, take my other 6mm eye, and match it up. And then this eye, I kind of give it a little bit more just around it and hit it. And again, these are not final sets. These are holding, so what's going to allow me to do, now I can build the head that I want. So I'm going to take some UV fly finish in olive, and I'm going to fill in the area between the eyes. I'll cock it a little bit that way so it doesn't rush in to the eyelet. And I'll hit it with the light. Now, part of this, and obviously some people ask, do you really need to put that much work into building the head? But I kind of like it. I think it's one of those things that's fun to do. Do another layer of olive. Hit it with the light. Then on the bottom, I'm going to take some hot orange and give it a little bit of a gill plate or hot spot underneath. Hit it with the light. Then I'm going to take some thick and really just build out the head. Turn it over, do the same thing on the bottom, kind of come around, backside, and give it that nice resin head. Spin it as you hit it. And if you're unhappy with how it looks, it doesn't look even, it's always, you can come in, hit it a little bit with some thin, lock it in there, get the other side. Then when I'm all said and done, I really sit here and just, as we say in the resin business, bake it. Get it in there nice. All right. Then at that point, kind of look at it, pull it back. I'm going to take my Ergo Prime curve shears and I'm going to pull that olive up and just kind of come and give it a nice curve taper. When the scissors are curved, it's pretty easy to do. Okay, and then for me, I like to flip it, pull it, take that white, spread it out, and I take the white, and the reference point for the white is I come in right at the hook shank and I just give it a curve. There you have Hogan's Hardline Baitfish. Very simple, very dainty, great for clear water, winter water, whatever you need to do. A couple keys, the hard lateral line.